I've seen some people say that JLo's documentary about her love life and her film on her new album is cringe. I've got some thoughts. Let's talk about it. Hello, my name is Diamond, aka Lady Leo. I'm a lover of all things nail polish, makeup, TV shows, music, movies, all sorts of things. My hope is that you come to my channel, find something that you like, and hit the subscribe button because I would love to have you. I would not say that I'm a very on trend person. I do have social media, but outside of using it to for my business, I don't really use it personally. So I'm never really on trend with whatever's on and hopping at the moment. I think JLo released her This Is Me Now film a few months ago, but I just kind of found out about it because of the reasons that I just mentioned. So I was scrolling through my Amazon trying to figure out something to watch, and what was suggested to me was The Greatest Love Story That's Never Been Told. Is that the name of it? The Greatest Love Story. Sorry, hang on one second. Let me check IMDb. So it's The Greatest Love Story Never Told, which Amazon markets this as being a documentary, but also says that it's behind the scenes. I would not classify this as a documentary. It's kind of behind the scenes, but kind of like a long interview with JLo. I don't really know how to classify this because I don't really think it fully accomplishes being behind the scenes. It certainly goes into the process of her having to fund it herself because I guess whoever was going to make the movie for her was like, we're not paying for it because concert films don't sell. I mean, I guess they're talking about Beyonce when they say that because Taylor Swift's concert films sold. No way to know why Beyonce's didn't sell. It could be because of the way she formatted hers. Like hers was a combination of behind the scenes and the actual concert, but still, it was still very good production quality. And I kind of mentioned in my video for that, I like the behind the scenes, but if I'm going to sit in a theater, I personally just want to see the concert, but that's neither here nor there. So The Greatest Love Story Never Told is really like a behind the scenes of her process of making This Is Me Now, which is like a musical film that I'm going to get to in a minute. I did watch both of them. I watched this one first because I was kind of curious. And like I said, I don't know how to classify this. It's a little bit behind the scenes, but like she doesn't go into like fully in depth her thought process on like, how did you come up with this scene or this? It's a lot of her, showing the process behind the scenes and which one she was filming, but not kind of explaining where she was going with it. You know what I mean? And she doesn't really talk that much about her love life in here. I've never been super invested in JLo. Just let me start there. Maybe I should start there. But yeah, I don't really feel one way about her or the other. I do think from the vantage point of an outsider, she does seem like a serial dater. And this is something that she kind of brings up in this behind the scenes herself, that she always needs to be with someone. But this is something that she mentions herself, that she's sort of like a serial dater, terrified of being alone. And I think that's really interesting. It's interesting for me to watch someone like that because I'm kind of like the polar opposite. Well, maybe not the polar opposite, but I've been single for a very long time, for years at this point, and it's for a myriad of reasons, but it's not that I don't miss being with somebody. I do sometimes, but I just know that I've got a lot of other things going on in my life, and realistically, if I were to open myself up to somebody, it would not be fully. I would only be there partially because I'd be focusing on those other things that I'm trying to accomplish. So for me, I'm perfectly happy to be by myself and wait until I'm genuinely ready to open my life up to someone. So to watch someone who's the polar opposite of that and who, has to be with someone, it's just really interesting dynamic. And she mentions that. And something that I think Ben says, Ben Affleck, by the way, in the film is really good is that, he says that people think childhood trauma is abuse. But it can also be from other things because she does mention that she always felt like she didn't get enough of her father's time, because he was always working. So she didn't see him enough. So she felt kind of like starved of that love and attention from him. So I think that the point that Ben Affleck makes, it's a really good point, and it's a really interesting point. She doesn't really dive too deep into that, but I feel like that does give you some more perspective on like where her mindset is when she goes in and out of these relationships and she goes into another relationship. And I feel like there's even one point where she does mention, like, she talked to a therapist and the therapist said, "Have you tried being alone?" And she's like, "Yeah, I can be alone. I can do that." And I think it cuts to another scene because in my mind, I'm thinking, have you ever been alone? I mean, again, this is just from the perspective of an outsider. Like, I don't know, maybe she's had genuine periods of being alone. But even with Ben Affleck, I mean, as from what I recall seeing, she was with Alex Rodriguez. He's a baseball player, right? Or he was. Yeah, I think Alex Rodriguez. Is that his name? Anyway, she was with a baseball player for a long time, and then they got out of a relationship, and it seemed like she immediately went into a relationship with Ben Affleck, back into a relationship with Ben Affleck. And that may not be how it plays out in real life. I mean, sorry, I'm quite sure that's not how it plays out in real life. Like, when celebrities decide to announce when they're ending a relationship could have been over for years, and maybe they're just ready to decide to say that. So I do understand that, like, obviously you never get the full picture when you're on the outside. You only see what they show you, what they want you to see. I get that. So I'm just speaking of the perspective of an outsider, what it looks like to me. But it was interesting that she brought that up, and I don't really think she's ever addressed it, that has she ever genuinely been alone? And to me, it doesn't seem like she has. I feel like being alone is a good thing sometimes, right? And if you go in and out of relationships all the time, it's important to sit with yourself and kind of figure out why you do need to do that and you don't want to be with yourself. And I don't think she addresses it that much in her behind the scenes, but I do think she brings it up in her sort of visual movie, which I'm going to get to in a minute. I watched the behind the scenes first because it was the first thing that interests me. And so after I watched the behind the scenes, I started getting a lot of like feedback from mostly, I think, from Facebook or other things, just saying that like that whole thing was cringe and that she's cringe and that she's, you know, always got expensive things on and things like that. I guess my viewpoint on this is that J-Lo is in the top 1% of the world, you know, and she has been for a very long time. And I feel like when you have been living at a different level that most people don't live at, it's very easy to be disillusioned with the rest of the world. And something that we might see as cringe would not come through that way because for you, it's just normal. It's just your life. You live in a house that's very expensive, but to you, it's normal. And I didn't really feel like she was doing that when I was watching this. I mean, most of the time she's very stripped down, like outside of like, she had makeup on and everything, like when she was doing like full on interview, you know, question styles. But like a lot of it is her without any makeup on in a very natural setting. So I guess for me, I'm missing what exactly is cringe about that. But again, I don't follow J-Lo like that. And even if I did, me following her, watching her content, listening to her music, that does not mean I know her. I don't know her at all. And I feel like people have this misconception that because they do those things, like if a celebrity is very active on social media, you know, if they listen to their music, if they watch their films, people tend to have this misconception that they know people. You don't know them at all. Like you know nothing about who they actually are. That's just what they choose to share with you. So for me, I didn't necessarily see anything as cringe in here, but maybe I'm missing it. I also think I saw a couple people saying that she was kind of demanding when she was like going through the list of celebrities that she wanted to be included in her musical film. I don't think it was demanding. I mean, I know she was asking, she's like, yeah, I know he's at a wedding this is for Derek Huff, I think. And she did end up getting him, by the way, because he's in the film. And she's like, can you just ask him still? I mean, he could still say no. She was just asking, can you still ask him? I kind of really want him. Just can you see if he can get away? I don't know. I mean, I guess I could see how some of these things would come off as cringe, but I don't really have a vested interest in J-Lo one way or the other. So I don't know if it comes off as cringe to me. I don't know. So I don't really have any deep lingering thoughts on the behind the scenes, except I really wanted to see the film. Originally, I wasn't super interested in seeing it. But then I watched somebody review it. I watched partially of a review and I was just like, wow, it seems like a lot of bashing. And I'm like, is it really that bad? So I already had this kind of perception in my mind that people are like, this is terrible, this is horrible, it's this god awful cringe fest that's like self indulgent. And there's a couple things about that before I even get into like what I saw, because I saw it. I mean, isn't every artist to a certain extent self-indulgent, especially like musical artists, right? If you go to a concert or you watch a music video, is that not self-indulgent? I mean, it's as much for the artist as it is for the audience, and it's all about the artist. So, I mean, how could this project not be self-indulgent? It's about her own love life, and it's taking songs that she made from her new album, This Is Me Now. So I don't really get the critique that it's self-indulgent. All artistry to a certain extent is self-indulgent, but we only feel this way because it's J-Lo, right? Like if a no-name artist wanted to sit here and do a, literal like physical art representation of their love life, would we say that it's cringe? No, it's J-Lo, right? So it's gotta be cringe. I don't really get that critique. I feel like every artist does things that are self-indulgent. That's the whole point of a concert, right? Yes, the concert's for us, but it's still all about the artist. So, I mean, I don't understand that critique. But I went into this concert, well, it's not a concert film. I think the best way to describe this is like a visual representation of partially the album This Is Me Now, while trying to also talk about, parts of her love life in a way that is very avant-garde. It's a very unique kind of thing that's definitely has a very like niche kind of audience, because it's not a concert film, which has a very different vibe. And it's not like a live performance. It's a really long music video, but like Benny Medina, especially in the behind the scenes video, he was really intent on being like, this isn't a music video. I'm not sure why he's saying that. It definitely is a music video. It's just a very different type, a very stylized type of music video that goes on for like an hour and 5 minutes, but it's still very much a music video. I don't know how else she would classify it, But anyway, so I went in with all those preconceived notions thinking that I would hate it. And I don't actually hate it. I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of things in here that are really interesting because, like I said, it's a very unique kind of film that's for a special audience. I mean, even if you're a fan of J-Lo's, this may not be for you. I think it just depends. I think it's worth a watch if you want to. I mean, it's a pretty easy watch. It's like an hour. Well, for me, because I'm not somebody who has like one feeling on J-Lo one way or the other, I've always felt like she's a very strong performer, but not that strong of a singer. And I definitely think she knows that. She's definitely said it from what I recall in like interviews in the past. People said that she was a terrible singer or things like that. They were always sort of complaining about her singing. I don't think she's an amazing singer. I'm pretty sure she's aware of that. But to be fair, there's levels. You know what I mean? Like, not everybody is Adele, which I would put somewhere over here. You can be a good performer with a sort of moderate to decent voice without being Adele. You know what I mean? Like, everybody can't be Adele. That doesn't mean that you're just god-awful terrible. And that's kind of how I feel about J-Lo. I don't think she's a terrible singer. I think she's kind of just okay for me. There's some songs from her that I like. There's some albums that I like, but I've never been like this diehard J-Lo fan. And when I watched this, there's some things in here that I liked right away. And I'm meaning like some set pieces and some songs. So much so that I decided to sort of download the album and just listen to This Is Me Now, because I did like a lot of the tracks that she used. So that being said, the scenes that I liked like immediately. So one of them was Rebound, where she was like in a glass house dancing on a string with the person who was kind of being very abusive towards her. I just really liked the song and I really liked the visuals that she was representing. And then Can't Get Enough, I really liked. That was the whole wedding scene that she did. The one that she really, really wanted Derek Huff to be there for it. And like I said, she got him. But no, I really, really liked that song and I liked that whole scene play out. And I think there's a couple other ones like Midnight Train to Vegas, or maybe it was just Midnight. No, I think it said Midnight Train. Well, there's no trains that go to Vegas. It was Midnight something to Vegas. That was towards the end. I really liked that. I also liked Broken Like Me. So I personally enjoyed some of the songs and some of the visuals that she chose with them. I really liked some of the songs. I liked some of the visuals that she chose. Even though it's like an hour and 6 minutes, she's not singing and dancing the entire time. There are some times where she'll take to have like acted out scenes, like I would say like reenactment, well, not reenactment, like dramatizations, you know what I mean? So some of those take place, and some of them are funny because like she has this whole thing about the zodiac signs. And it's funny, when I was watching the behind the scenes, I was like, how are the zodiac signs going to play into this? And the people who were acting out the different zodiac signs were like, we don't know. Sometimes the zodiacs were funny because it was like a council of like the zodiac signs. So the first couple of times they cut back to the zodiac signs, I did think they were quite funny. They went back a couple more times and I'm like, okay, I'm kind of done with the zodiac signs. And then eventually there was a point where they didn't go back anymore. But I thought it was very interesting because I too have sometimes looked at the zodiac signs and been like, listen, could we be together? I don't know. I'm like a Leo Virgo on the cusp, but you're like an Aquarius. That's why our relationship didn't work out. You're an Aquarius and I'm a Leo Virgo. So I used to be super invested in that. Well, maybe not super invested, but I used to look at like my horoscope and things like that. Every now and then a sentence would pop out and be like, oh my God, that is so me. This horoscope knows my soul. Well, and it's played in the movie for comedy, so I did like that aspect of it. Like I said, I think they play it a little too long. They play the bit a little bit too long, but the first couple of times I saw the Zodiac Council, I thought it was pretty funny. You know, I was fully expecting this to be full-on cringe and terrible. I definitely don't feel that way about it. I definitely think there's a couple minutes in here where it lingers too long on a scene, or it tries to hammer the point home a little bit too much. But she's trying to do it in an artistic way that's not just like, hey, I'm gonna have a direct interview about my love life, which would be a lot more vulnerable, I imagine. So yeah, sometimes those points I'm just like, ugh. And then we go into another song that I really like. So all in all, I didn't think this was horrible. I'm probably in the minority. I didn't really think this was horrible. I can't say that I'm going to reach for it again because, you know, this is a very specific type of thing. It's a long music video. It's an artistic film based on her love life and her, you know, promoting her album, Look at Me Now. So yeah, so all in all, I didn't hate this. I thought it was fine. I didn't think it as bad as people made it out to be. But again, I don't really have one feeling on J-Lo or the other. Maybe if you really dislike J-Lo, you'll hate this. I mean, I'm sure you would. I mean, why would you watch this? I guess just to hate watch it. Yeah, I mean, if you want to watch it, it's an easy binge. It's like it wouldn't be a binge, but if you wanted to watch it, it's like an easy hour and 6 minutes. And then if you wanted to watch the behind the scenes afterwards, that's like another hour, something like that. So it's not a lot of time if you want to check it out for yourself to see what you think. You might look at it and have a completely different experience with it, which is totally fine. But I did not think it was horrible. That's just me. Apparently that, you know, and people just saying that J-Lo's cringe. I mean, aren't all celebrities a little cringed at certain points? They live a very different life in a very different tax bracket than the rest of us. So, you know, I think sometimes they can come off as cringe unintentionally. They're just trying to identify with the rest of us regular bitches. I don't know. I didn't see anything cringe in here. I think there was a couple things that I was just like, okay, I got it. Can we move on? To me, that's not just cringe. I think that's just like letting it go on a little too long or just trying to hammer the point home a little too much. But, you know, I don't know. What do I know? So, yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, J-Lo is a person just like you and I, and lots of times people who are in this industry, you know, artists, when I talk about artists, I'm meaning specifically like singers, they do tend to express themselves in song. They tend to just like make an album and that's their form of therapy. That's how they discuss those things because people want to know. I don't really care about it. It's none of my business what she does with her love life. You know, as long as she's happy, cool, whatever. Anyway, yeah, so let me know. Have you guys checked this out before? Have you listened to her album? I've listened to about half of it. And like I said, I like it. If you want to, you can watch it for yourself. You can see both of those. They're on Amazon, which now that I think about it, she couldn't. So I guess I forgot to bring this up. I think I mentioned it briefly, but like she paid for this herself because nobody wanted to produce it. I agree, concert films are very much they're up in the air. You could be super popular like Taylor Swift, or you could make not a lot of money like Beyonce. And both of those women are very talented and very popular, but I just don't think you ever know the like if somebody's going to want to sit down for like a 3-hour concert film. It's a long time. So I could definitely see the critique that people don't really want to watch these. I don't know if that's true. I just don't think I think that a concert film is a very specific audience in general, so it's not going to be on the same level as like a normal film that would appeal to more people. Most people who are going to see a concert film are people who are fans of the artist. So I agree with that. But I guess in some ways she did make money though, because Amazon is distributing this, so they paid for that and they gave her the behind the scenes. So I guess it's an interesting thing, like, because they would be filming the behind the scenes as they're filming This Is Me Now. So nobody wanted to pay to make her movie, but she still made money off of the actual distribution with Amazon, though, right? Just saying, somebody paid for something. So that's also an interesting thing, too, to want to make something so bad that you're willing to pay for it yourself. But what else are you doing with that money? I don't know. I don't know how much money J-Lo is worth. So obviously she can afford to spend tens of millions of dollars to fund her own project. And good on her. I mean, if it's something you want to do and you can afford to do it, good for you. I mean, most people could never do that. But yeah, so anyway, my long-winded thoughts are that I don't really think this is terrible. I didn't really see it as cringe. I saw it as an artistic endeavor by J-Lo, and there's a lot of elements in here that I really liked and that worked for me. There's some that didn't. Overall, I thought it was fine. I kind of enjoyed watching it at some points. So yeah, I think it's worth a watch if you want to check it out. If you don't, you don't have to. But if you do, it's on Amazon. You can see both parts. But yeah, just let me know in the comments below, what do you think? Well, you can always check me out on all my socials. I've got some other videos that I'm filming today, so you'll probably see me in this outfit a few times. And then I've got some new videos I'm going to be doing next week too. Stay tuned. Thank you so much for watching. That's been my time. Catch you later. Bye.